I know now MAGA is not my mortal enemy, neither is the extreme left.
Wait, is he about to start crying? Oh no. Oh no. Look at his throat. Oh God.
That's the worst one.
Cenk, you and I just started sort of talking about the they-them ad that Trump ran and a bunch of other stuff, and the conversation just sort of unfolded. So you're going to pick up here kind of midstream with Cenk and I already engaged in a conversation about the future of the Democratic Party. So I hope you enjoy.
I don't want progressivism to be known as Bane from Batman series.
Yeah.
Where we're known as the guys who let all the criminals go.
Right.
Like, where's the justice in that?
So my view.
Why would we be Bane? Letting all the why? Because of what? Because of Hunter?
Which is probably similar to yours, is like, right now all the litmus tests, and this largely comes down of like actually the Hillary Clinton and the neoliberal approach to politics. All the litmus tests are around social issues in the Democratic Party. You can be pretty right-wing on economic policy. It's not really a problem. You know, you can be very pro-corporate.
Yeah.
I think it should be the exact reverse. I think the litmus test should be around economic issues.
Goddamn right.
And then, personally, I'm like pretty left on almost every issue, but I have no problem with having people in the tent who are pro-life, who are pro-gun, who have different views on the border crime than I do. But the litmus test has to be like, fuck the billionaires. That's basically my view of the party.
Totally.
So where I get frustrated in the conversation is when like the South Miltons of the world are instantly like, well, it's trans people. It's like, well, if your only assessment from this is to like throw trans people under the bus, and you don't have, that's very convenient for the donor class, that's very convenient for the powers that be in the Democratic Party. That doesn't require anything of them.
She's gonna end up, God damn it, I feel like I'm gonna end up agreeing with her more than Cenk in this video, but she gets to the right answers in the dumbest way. Republicans launched all sorts of crazy attack ads against us. I agree. Like, really? Focusing on trans people? Like, true. So our solution is what, to just throw out everybody that the Republicans decide to single out? Exactly, Queen. That would just help the donor class. Oh, we were going there. I didn't know we were going to be fucking retarded. My bad.
So I'm not saying those issues aren't like, challenging for the Democratic Party to deal with. But if your only instinct is like to blame the left yet again when the left had nothing to do with this campaign, like I'm very suspicious of that.
So I actually 100% agree with you. Thank you so much, Mac.
Thank you.
But I don't want us to live in non-reality. And non-reality is saying that ad didn't hurt us. When both sides said definitively, according to our internal numbers, it was devastating, right? So like, that's not the number one reason, as I said there.
Right, but I think the thing for me is you have to ask the deeper question of like, okay.
What is the donor class dog whistle? I feel like donor class is just like the billionaires and the wealthy elites. It's like the Bernie people from 2016 just like want to hold on to that term forever.
Why did that ad hurt? Because why did that ad hurt? Because Bernie has the same position on transgender issues, but that ad would not work against Bernie. Okay, and
you don't know that because nobody's made ads against Bernie because Bernie's not running for anything. No one cares.
The reason is because he actually, like, people are not going to be confused that Bernie Sanders' top priority is fighting against rich people, fighting for you. Yeah. They're not going to be confused about that. So you're right. If
what is that ad that everyone's talking about? I don't know. Link me the ad.
You're running a Kamala Harris, that ad's going to be a fucking problem for her because she doesn't really stand for anything. Yeah, and so people can be very easily convinced that like, oh, she cares about a bunch of bullshit that I don't support and I don't care about. But if you have a candidate who has a story that can compete with the Trump, the left populist story and narrative and credibility of actually fighting for those things, then you can carry some cultural issues that, may not be that popular.
So you could do the Hassan strategy if you, and I agreed with him, and that's what I would have done, if you have actual policies, like you're saying.
That's right.
So because then you could say, hey, this is a distraction from $15 minimum wage and universal health care, et cetera. But Kamala couldn't say it's a distraction from anything because she doesn't believe in anything.
Wait, I'm so sorry. I'm about to do a huge, not that huge. Just listen to what he just said.
Yeah.
If you have actual policies.
Ability of actually fighting for those things, then you can carry some cultural issues that, may not be that popular.
So you could do the Hassan strategy if you, and I agreed with him, and that's what I would have done.
Yeah.
If you have actual policies, like you're saying.
That's right.
So you could, because then you could say, hey, this is a distraction from $15 minimum wage and universal health care, et cetera. But Kamala couldn't say it's a distraction from anything because she doesn't believe in anything.
That's right.
Kamala doesn't believe in anything because she couldn't say $15 an hour or universal health care. Just keep that in the back of your head, I guess. I got an interesting email a couple days ago. Hey Hey, Stephen, I really think this is a topic that is worth considering, and it's super relevant to recent discussions and thoughts you've been having. It's something that I think you and a lot of your audience know intuitively, but I think there's value in illustrating it on a larger scale. I hope you read this email and find it valuable. Basically, I think that besides the lockstep support of the candidate, the right's media domination is also driven by the way short-form content/algorithms incentivize their policies. This is because Donald Trump's slogans are his policies. They're frustratingly stupid and simple, which necessitates a lack of nuance, which means they're extreme. Because they're extreme, they drive engagement. I'll try to keep it brief for this part, but I think it's an important method of comparison for what I'm about to say. It is absolutely going to come across as unrelated and something you give zero fucks about, but I promise I'll get there. I'm very into motorcycles/dirt bikes and riding off-road. I am very frequently fed instructional Instagram reels on off-roading riding techniques. I was talking to a friend about how these videos really annoy me because they never actually say anything valuable. Because of the nature of short-form content, the videos have no time for nuance and the audience is extremely broad. I'll be recommended a video and the format will be top 3 techniques for X. X can be hill climbs, riding in sand, technical rocky terrain, off-road riding in general, or off-road riding in general. The techniques in the video will almost always be stand up, be loose on the bars, and look as far ahead as you can. This is because these three things are like the foundation of riding motorcycle off-road. They apply to literally every type of terrain off-road. A video about hill climbs or sand that lists these 3 specific techniques isn't necessarily wrong because these 3 techniques do apply. They sound really good, but to anyone who is beyond a very beginner surface level understanding, these are things they already know to do already, which makes the video effectively useless. There are nuanced techniques that are genuinely important that apply to sand but don't apply to hill climbs and vice versa. These differences are important for actually learning and progressing, but since it's short-form media with a broad audience and no time, you can't go into them, which basically results in more slop for the algorithm. But at the same time, there's advanced techniques that if I tried to teach a beginner, they could actually be detrimental to their riding as a whole. If I taught somebody how to trail brake, lightly dragging the brakes through a corner before teaching them how to progressively brake off-road, they're going to grab the brakes in a corner and crash, which means the short-form medium incentivizes me to not discuss anything nuanced because it could lead to worse outcomes. Whereas, if you have a long-form course, you can get into the advanced techniques because you know your audience already has the foundation. But without the foundation, the advanced stuff sounds like nonsense. This same concept can be used for anything educational. You cannot teach the nuanced advanced stuff if your audience doesn't know the fundamentals, and sometimes the advanced stuff without the fundamentals leads to detrimental confusion. I think this is something people can intuitively understand, even if they don't give a fuck about whatever subject is used in the example. But I think that this is something that extrapolates well beyond motorcycles or educational content. I think it actually extrapolates really well into politics in general. No more motorcycle-related metaphors from here on out. Understanding complex issues requires a foundation of the basics and additional learning beyond that. There is no actual, quote, it's just common sense, bro, end quote, solution to any of the major issues in the United States. Since people are increasingly getting their information from short-form content, people who are actually trying to solve complex issues are fighting an uphill battle when it comes to spreading their ideas. If I'm a Democrat, it's much more difficult to explain the asylum process than it is for a Republican to say that we should, quote, build the wall, end quote. The same message needs to fit into a 30-second video or a 280-character tweet or a headline. Which one will be easier understood? Which one will drive more engagement? I think that short-form media incentivizes, if not demands, a lack of nuance. When I say short-form media, I don't just mean TikTok, Shorts, or Instagram Reels. I think this also applies to reading a headline, short form, versus reading an entire article, long form, and also Twitter as a whole. If this lack of nuance is combined with how social media is incentivized to promote divisive content because it's engaging, I think it really helps illustrate how the right dominates media. A lack of nuance tends to be inherently divisive and inherently engaging. An example of this on the left is defund the police. I think this was always more of a slogan than an actual policy idea, but the example still applies. It was an extremely controversial belief because it removed all nuance, but it was everywhere. A lack of nuance also tends to be inherently short form. Trump's run-up to being elected, his initial election up until now, has a pretty strong correlation with the rise in short-form content. Correlation isn't causation. The causation isn't an argument I'd be inclined to make anyways. However, the overall shift away from long-form to short-form content is important and essential to what I'm about to say next. Trump is literally perfect for weaponizing this shift. A big part of Trump's magic is so simple it's stupid. His slogans are his policy. His slimy reality TV businessman background only makes this stronger, and it explains where it came from. When Trump says, build the wall and make Mexico pay for it, that is literally his policy. And because his followers are so stupid, it makes complete sense to them. They not only get to parrot his slogans, they also get to parrot his policy in the same sentence while feeling smart about it. If I'm on the right, I can hear Trump say, shut down the border, and it's one sentence. I understand it with no research. This applies to pretty much all right-wing policies, tariffs, vaccines, abortion ban, etc. Maybe not all of them are one-to-one slogans to policy, but they're at least so simple that they're easy to understand without any specialized knowledge. They lack any and all nuance required to actually fix anything, but they sound good. When he says he's tired of other countries taking advantage of the US, he's going to make them pay us through a tariff. It literally does not matter how tariffs work. It just needs to sound good as a slogan, because to his audience, that means it sounds good as a policy. It's funny because you can see tankies use the same strategy with how they use from the river to the sea. Because the left's policies tend to actually work and they want to fix the problem, they require nuance. It's incredibly difficult to make a left-wing policy the same as a slogan. A perfect example of this is defund the police. Regardless of how stupid it was, this was always a slogan and not a policy. If it was a policy, literally everyone would think about how stupid it was. But that's the funny part. Trump's audience has been trained that slogans equal policy. Their media has been trained on the same thing, which meant that to them, defund the police was a policy, and I think some people that were closer to the center on both sides thought the same thing because of that, and I'd be unsurprised if that resulted in a shift to the right for both. The important thing about this strategy is that it requires enough nuance to prove them, The important thing about this strategy is that it requires enough nuance to prove them wrong, that their audience will stop listening. And usually it doesn't actually take a real argument to prove them wrong. All you have to do is simply explain the consequences. But even that's enough nuance that nobody is listening or engaging with it anymore. Hence why defund the police was really stupid. The actual ideas behind it may have been sellable, but that requires nuance which won't drive engagement. That's why I can post some sensational misinformation on Twitter and get a correction in 5 minutes, but the sensational tweet will have way more impressions than the correction. A complicated issue demands a complicated solution, both of which require nuance. If your audience is so uneducated and stupid that they can't even comprehend how complicated an issue is, it's unbelievably easy to sell them a simple solution. For example, tariffs to fix inflation. In addition to that, a nuanced solution is less sensational, therefore it doesn't promote a strong emotional reaction. Therefore, algorithms are less likely to promote them since there's not going to be any engagement, which really sucks because if Democrats are actually trying to be good faith in solving issues, that means no engagement on an algorithmic level or an audience level. I think this is part of the, quote, Kamala has no policies, end quote, view. I don't think it's a coincidence that this is something that both Republicans and tankies love to say. Because Democrats are actually trying to fix stuff, they require complex solutions, which means that their policy can't be broken down into a simple sweeping statement like build the wall or from the river to the sea. Hold on, there's like 4 paragraphs off, but it's just interesting that he just...
Then you could say, hey, this is a distraction from $15 minimum wage and universal health care, et cetera. But Kamala couldn't say it's a distraction from anything because she doesn't believe in anything.
That's right.
Right? So that's...
Interesting. I just thought that was funny that you just brought this up. Kamala can do a 5-minute interview where she explains the asylum process and how reforming it would fix the immigration issue and how building a wall doesn't matter because asylum seekers are here legally, but that's not a 5-word slogan, and it requires something beyond surface-level knowledge to understand, which means it's not a policy. The really annoying thing is that because the average Republican is more right than the average Democrat is left, it's easier to sloganize policy. Extreme positions almost necessitate a lack of nuance, so they get a home field advantage in both being able to be simplistic and extreme in their policies, and by that I mean slogans, which means more engagement from their audience and those that disagree. Therefore, the algorithm is going to promote it more, even without an Elon-driven bias. And since the arguments against the slogan policy require even 1% of nuance to understand, they're ignored/silenced. This is the foundation of the it's just common sense. The nature of left-leaning policy and content pretty much requires nuance, and if the algorithm doesn't promote it, that means even if somebody like Hank Green created a 30-second video about vaccines that perfectly explains how stupid the right's view of them is, the video is just going to remain as something that is shown to an audience that most likely already agrees, which doesn't mean it's useless. Hopefully the audience will use those talking points to persuade those around them, which I think is a huge strength of your audience. Worst case scenario, hopefully it at least prevents people from being persuaded by the right. The simplistic nature of the extremes is also a big incentive for all media to either be right-wing grifters or tanky grifters. You've watched Ben Shapiro's old videos on stream, where he seems to go more in depth in an at least somewhat good faith manner. But I think Ben Shapiro is smart enough to realize that he doesn't need to do in-depth research. He just needs to know 10% more than the surface level, and he'll still make the same amount of money and reach the same size audience, if not more. If I was him and I saw how successful Tim Pool, Hassan, Dave Rubin were by doing that, I'd turn around and do the same shit. I wouldn't be surprised if even Jordan Peterson looked at how much effort went into his philosophy-based work versus how much went into the political extremist grift and decided to do the same shit. I wish I could say I have a prescriptive solution to this issue. I don't want any of these thoughts to be misconstrued as me saying Democrats need to be more extreme. I think that's silly. I think more blah, blah, blah. And then just, but I don't know. I thought it was just funny that he sent me this whole ass email, and then I hear Cenk go, Kamala didn't have any policies. Not like we had policies like 15 an hour and universal minimum wage.
If you have actual policies, like you were saying.
That's right.
You could, because then you could say, hey, this is a distraction from $15 minimum wage and universal health care, et cetera. But Kamala couldn't say it's a distraction from anything because she doesn't believe in anything.
That's right.
Right? So that's why I was saying the ad was a perfect combination of what was wrong with the corporate Democrats and the extreme left. Because the corporate Democrats stripped her of any real substance to run on, right?
Yeah.
So then all that was left was the extreme left positions that she took on into 2020. Right?
Yeah.
So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I totally agree with it. I don't think you can say like the ad didn't matter at all.
Wait, Cenk sent you that message? No, I said, no. What? Okay. Wait, hold on. This was the ad.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
Hell no, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to that.
Kamala supports transgender sex changes in jail with our money.
Kamala even supports letting biological men compete against our girls in their sports. Kamala is for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Holy shit. What an ad. Okay.
But I think it's important to understand why she was vulnerable to that ad, and a Bernie Sanders or an Andy Bashir wouldn't be.
I'll tell you, so I agree with all that. I will say that I think Bernie 2020 was more susceptible to it than Bernie 2016.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So we've been talking here to Cenk Uygur, obviously, of TYT and many other wonderful distinctions as well. But lucky to have you in studio today. And we, started talking and recording, so we'll just include that front part in the conversation as well. Great to have you.
All right. Great to be here, Krystal. Appreciate it.
I'll give you the official welcome now. So you've been making a lot of waves.
Yeah, I love to make waves.
You've been stirring the pot, sir.
That's what I am. I'm a pot stirrer.
Yes.
Can you paste that email? Maybe I'll tweet it out.
And I was telling you, Kyle and I both enjoyed Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We were listening to it on the way back from New York. One thing I wanted to talk to you about is I want to get into the stuff with you and Elon, and Bernie's chimed in there, and your sort of general approach to the Trump administration, which, tell me if I'm wrong, feels different than how you approach things in 2016. We can talk a little bit more about that. And kind of emblematic of that, if you guys could put Cenk's tweet up on the screen, and we can use this as a jumping off point. So you said, I've been trying to figure out why I'm more optimistic now than I was before the election, even though I was so against the guy who won. I know now MAGA is not my mortal enemy, neither is the extreme left. My mortal enemy is the establishment, and they have been defeated. So there's a few pieces of this that I have some questions about, but I guess just off the top, I think you and I both think that Trump is a fascist.
Not to sound crazy, what's your take on all the UAP drone stuff that's going on lately, especially over New Jersey and last week in the UK? Oh, definitely aliens, for sure, my dude. I've never been more sure that the aliens are here. Wait, hold on. Somebody link this real quick.
We gotta find that. We gotta find that 9/11 video. Those kids.
What? Planning it?
Have I?
Which one?
It's my favorite video.
What are you talking about?
It's these kids from NYU drinking in their rooms because obviously classes were canceled because of 9/11.
Yeah.
And they're like filming on a camcorder, and they're like, "Sorry, mom, it's just apple juice." Ha ha ha. They're drinking beer, and then all of a sudden a girl goes, "Ah!" She screams, and the camera pulls over, and it's 9/11.
What do you mean?
It's very funny.
Pull it up, J-Mo.
Is this it? No. Yes. Damn, J-Mo, that was so quick.
Screwdriver. It's totally apple juice. Way to go, way to start.
Holy shit.
Oh my God.
That's incredible.
Is that funny?
Oh my God!
Wait, rewind it so it's funny. Don't show the actual terrible
Give us a
thing.
little setup.
Yeah.
By the way, it's 9:02 p.m. a.m.
Oh, no. Isn't that funny? When you realize... This is me making the N-word joke on Fresh and Fit. I'm like, wait a second. My scouter is broken. I misread the power levels in the room right now.
Oh my God.
That's incredible.
Is that funny?
That's incredible.
Is that funny? Wait, rewind it so it's funny. Don't
The lady's screaming in the background.
show the actual terrible
Give us a
thing.
little setup.
Yeah.
By the way, it's 9:02 p.m. a.m.
Oh, the towers, both of them have already been hit.
That's a good view as a New York apartment.
It was already going on. They knew it was already
It
happening.
collapsed. Two of them
Bro,
are.
how insane
Yeah.
is watching this again? How insane was 9/11?
Wow.
Wait, is he about to start crying? Oh no.
I missed this video.
They actually have the worst. That's the worst one. They showed jumpers.
What?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Oh, so it was already.
I'm sure that's what that. They showed jumpers.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my
video.
God.
They actually have the
You can
worst.
see his. Oh no. Look at his throat. Oh God.
That's the worst one. They showed jumpers.
What?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Oh, so it was already.
I'm sure
He's
that's what
like-
that first one is.
Oh my
He's
God! Look at
losing
these people
it.
trying to run
So
out.
they've been watching people jump, and then they're like, "All right, let's have some brewskis."
Oh my God.
Oh, man.
Which is the college thing to do.
So this did happen.
I mean, we're doing it right now.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, bring up 9/11.
It's so sad.
Let's do a shot.
I thought this was a myth.
How crazy is that footage,
yeah.
though?
No
The
Jews in the
footage of
building.
the planes hitting the towers is so insane.
No.
Again, the angel fell.
Fallen tower.
Tower 7.
Tower Pizza.
When you watch the towers fall, you're just like, what the man?
Tower records.
Jesus Christ.
In fact, I think we both argue with our co-hosts about this rather memorably. What makes you optimistic now that we have the fascist headed back to the White House?
Yeah, it's a couple of things. So number one, he was why did I call him a fascist? I'm very clear on this,
Yeah.
right? Because he did a fake elector plot to overthrow the Democratic elections in 2020, right? And he said to terminate the Constitution afterwards. A lot of right-wingers don't know that. Like when I read him that quote,
Yeah, no,
they're
they
like,
don't.
no, really? And then they read it and they can't believe it. That's because he doesn't care about democracy, doesn't care about the Constitution, etc.
True. Wait, what is this? Oh, fuck. I'm clicking something around.
2008. Hillary Clinton was more MAGA than Trump.
She's always been a Republican.
Damn.
But how about that?
Wow.
More MAGA than Trump.
And then
it's
you
all
couldn't believe that. Watch the news.
illusion. It's all a fucking illusion. All of them, when convenient, have said the exact same things.
Dragons
And then
are
they're
real.
2008.
Okay.
Right? So I have those same exact concerns. Those concerns have not left. But the one thing that happened in this election was that he won the popular vote. And I noticed right-wingers switching from, oh, we're not a democracy, we're a republic, right?
Yeah.
To like, yeah, let's go democracy.
Suddenly free and fair elections exist, right?
Yeah, and suddenly they're in favor of democratic elections. So great, wonderful. Because my number one concern is that he's not going to leave office. I'm less concerned about that now, okay? So maybe I'm wrong about that, and if I'm naive about that, then I'll own up to it, et cetera.
Let me just say, though, so for me personally, yes, I continue to be somewhat concerned he won't leave office. But my issue with the fake electors plot and all of the things that he tried to pull during that time is that it was indicative of, an attitude, an authoritarian approach to government.
Yes.
That doesn't just apply when he's trying to leave office. So, for example, he wanted to shoot protesters famously in the leg during the Black Lives Matter protests. And he, at that time, had some, institutions around him. And I think it was Mark Milley in particular was like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
My fear this time is he doesn't have those people around him anymore. And each of the institutions that held him back last time, Supreme Court, the Senate, the Department of Justice, the Pentagon, all of those, there's been a concerted effort to make sure that this time he is able to indulge his worst and most fascistic impulses. So that's why I almost feel like I've traveled like the opposite journey as you, where in 2016 I was more like, maybe who knows what we're going to get out of this. This time I'm actually more concerned, especially because you have that Supreme Court immunity decision.
Let's jerk off camera shit for a second, okay? I don't like the moving cameras. I know that people started using it, and now everybody's bought these $20,000 rigs.
Who knows what we're going to get out of this?
What is the point of this?
This time I'm actually more concerned, especially because you have that Supreme Court immunity decision, which really does kind of get...
I don't like it. I like synthetic shots where the shots are blended and the backgrounds match enough that the synthetic shot works, and it doesn't even look like a composite. It looks like...
I'm going to move our embassy.
I thought this was a nice, cute little temporary set.
4,700 murder.
Although because of the format, the wide also works as well, right? Him looking at a guy talking over here, then looking at me talking over here. This works, right? Oh, wait a second. I'm sorry. Damn, bro. I think that, wait, was I on Vyvanse for this? I was. Dude, I think Vyvanse gave me like future sight. Unironically. Like if you guys need some lottery numbers, I think I got you. I got you. Unironically, I got you. I thought I said in this debate, like, you sound like you're arguing for, or you're just auditioning. I thought I said you're auditioning for another job in Trump's cabinet. I thought I said that. You did say something like he's looking for a position in the White House. You said it discussing it afterwards, maybe? Okay, yeah. I think he was, didn't he just get nominated for something? Sebastian Gorka, wait, am I crazy? To lead anti-terrorism chief for a senior national security post. There it is. I got it. I was right. Okay. I mean, he was a previous cabinet member, or not cabinet, but I still get credit for it. But regardless.
Seb, obviously 4 years instead of cleaning.
Look at this synthetic shot. This is so well done. I think they're using a blending feature here in the middle so that there's not a harsh cutoff, a harsh line, but the lighting is lined up in both so that this this composite doesn't even look like a fake shot. It doesn't look fake.
The mess of the last conservative and then still trying to compete on things.
So I feel like that shot is so much better. This shot right here is so much better than just having a wide. But this wide is good though. This wide works because of the format though. But fuck, I like that. I like this so much. Anyway.
Give him carte blanche.
Okay, so I'm going to get to the irony here, right?
Okay.
So why am I thinking the other way?
Yeah.
So, but first, let me double down on what you're saying. Kash Patel's a disaster. Pete Hegseth is a disaster. I actually thought Matt Gaetz was a mixed bag because he is actually anti-war and anti-corruption, but of course he has a terrible personal life.
Yeah.
In the wide, how do you feel about the boring table? I don't want to get into a breakdown of this. I like the negative space in the wide shot, but just because I feel like it increases the drama. Like, this is very dramatic. The itty bits of light peeking out of both corners in a debate, right? And then the moderator here, the two people on either side, and then just a lot of negative space. I think it makes it very dramatic. The lighting is incredibly dramatic, right? I don't even know if they do have fills. The fills are very turned down, right? Look at all the shadows. Like, this whole side of my face here is barely lit. It's just, I'm catching the blue light and maybe a very soft fill. His face over here is lit red. Lots of shadowing on his face, maybe even too much. They might have needed another light here, but it's a very, very, very dramatic shot. And I like the negative space. I think this is a sick, I don't know if this is their set or if this is a temporary thing that somebody else made, but I think this is a really cute. God, and this composite is so good. Like, I would prefer this composite a million times over if I had a good composite versus, I just hate my wide shot in the Bridges studio. God, oh, I just spoke with her lately. Oh my God, she says so many things that trigger the out of me because I think she's about to like do some crazy, stupid centrist grift, but she didn't. She was actually really smart. This wide shot is so much more boring than if I could find a good way to composite. I need a spotlight on my little DGGer guy too because he's too...
Right.
But him being a mess might have actually been a good thing because he probably wouldn't have been that effective. But anyway.
Right. So the labor secretary is great given the Trump administration
given the limitations,
right?
Yeah.
And then you've got the Team Israel, Marco Rubio, Stefanik. So I'm not other than the labor secretary, I'm not interested in any of this, right? So, and you're right, the Supreme Court has allowed him to be above the law. But on top of that, he has no accountability left. What are they going to do? Impeach him? What are they going to do? Arrest him? Right? No accountability. The brakes are all. And I agree with you. The establishment was a brake in the car. Now that brake has been taken out. So what in the world am I thinking? Being slightly optimistic. Well, there's two parts to it. One is the establishment being defeated. We got to come back to that because that's so important.
Okay.
But on Trump, the new.
You know what felt good today? I don't know if I should just, but I think it's only just, I think I'm just confident enough because I've just read so much on this shit. I don't even know if this is the play, dude. I don't know what the play is. These people are crazy. I think no, it's not this stupid fucking one. I think in like 40 minutes in this, I did a periods thing this morning. I think in like 40 minutes, I was just like, who the f are these people? Do these guys know anything? Like, what are we even talking about right now? Because these guys were just triggering the f out of me. This guy, who the f is this dude? These guys were crazy. It was just the most retarded shit I've ever heard in my entire life. I think that's just the play. You just got to call them stupid. These guys are fucking morons. Fuck, I don't even know what I said. My mic was getting muted so much too. Fuck. The Ryan dude was the one who made the beeper comment to Mehdi. Oh shit, you're right. I knew I noticed that guy from somewhere. I don't even want to find out. What am I watching myself?
Who break in the car, and this is me out on a limb, okay? Is right-wing populists. So, okay, I can see you're grimacing, okay?
Listen, I am, the show I do, right? And I love soccer. And, but I am also...
Do you think you need better spotlighting for your studio? You seem pretty unlit compared to other people. If you ever see me doing a studio show, and I have... God, this was so... Piers had the most cucked questions anyone has ever asked in the history of all of... What he made this girl answer. He asked her like 5 times because she wasn't answering directly because she kept avoiding kind of the question. But it was a stupid... The question was like, what's in your heart? No! Answer the question. What's in your heart about that part? No! Don't answer the question. What is in your heart? Oh, if you see me do an interview here... and I'm the blue is in the background, my lighting is wrong. This lighting is set for anything else. Wait, what the f? Where was I this morning?
Show where we just tell lies?
Well, Joe
where's
Biden
the part
lies?
where's the part where Joe Biden directed the DOJ to do anything?
Why am I deep faked in here? What the f? Your face looks way less bright. Yeah, no, I have my lighting is set for anything else right now. That's why there's colored lighting in the back. It's supposed to be white instead of lighting of color.
Where is that?
Well, you think the entire weaponization of the American...
Why does your mic do that? Oh, this is them miking it. They do all their mic shit, so they might have fucked me, but I have no control over that.
Very skeptical that that movement has significant sway or influence with Trump. Go ahead, make your case.
Okay, so I think that's wrong. So number one, there's a different MAGA base than in 2016. The 2016 MAGA base was Trump is demigod. Whatever Trump says is by definition brought down to us from the heavens and will never be challenged. So I had no interest in that base, right? And it was filled with old school Republicans, some establishment guys, but not that many. But still, they were hanging in there. Then they had the religious guys who were like, yeah, let's go kill everyone in the Middle East so Jesus can come back and stuff.
Like Mike Huckabee.
Yeah, but those guys have lost a lot of power within that base. So now within the right wing base,
Pete Hegseth. Sorry, I'll let you finish. But Pete Hegseth, Mike Huckabee. Like
no, I know,
Mike Waltz.
But Krystal, Huckabee is Team Miriam, right? So she's the one.
He's Team End Times.
Okay, yeah, I know. So Miriam Adelson got Marco Rubio, Stefanik, Huckabee, and Walz in. Those are all neocons, war hawks.
Hegseth too.
Yeah, and Hegseth would kill all the Muslims. I mean, I'm not unclear about that.
Yeah.
And I know that in a lot of ways I'm in the crosshairs, right? But don't discount the bros. Okay, so the bros have brought in a huge new part of his base, and don't discount the moderates that are so sick of the Democratic Party that they flipped over moderates independents to Trump, and they're not looking to deport every human being in America that isn't evangelical Christian. They're not looking. The bros don't even agree on abortion with the Republican Party, right? So like when you talk about Joe Rogan and Portnoy and all those guys, we have our disagreements with them, no question, right?
Yeah.
But those guys are breaking the car. If let's say they do what one of Trump's potential picks was threatening to do, which is deport and denaturalize and arrest Mehdi Hasan, right? That's a specific threat that one of the potential appointees had, right?
Who said that?
I think Mike Davis.
Okay.
So he was being considered for Attorney General. And so, by the way, good news, he didn't pick him, but Kash Patel says things like that, Hegseth says things like that. I think if they go to do that, and this is where people can, you got me on tape, you'll say, ha, Cenk was so naive. That's when I think the Rogans of the world will come out and go, what are you doing? Really? I thought we were against cancel culture. I thought we were for freedom.
Wait, he does think the Rogans will come out and say shit like that? Really?
Like that. I think if they go to do that, and this is where people can, you got me on tape, you'll say, ha, Cenk was so naive. That's when I think the Rogans of the world will come out and go, what are you doing? Really? I thought we were against cancel culture.
Okay, we'll see.
I thought we were for freedom.
Okay.
You don't agree with Mehdi Hasan's position on Israel, so we're going to denaturalize him, a thing that doesn't even exist? No. I think they're going to say no, okay? And here's the absolute litmus test.
Okay.
On Israel, so Team Israel, Team Miriam will drive him towards war. Today, Donald Trump said that he's going in that direction.
Yeah.
He said that there's going to be hell to pay for the Palestinians and for the entire Middle East if the hostages aren't returned. I don't know what more hell they could live in, right?
Exactly.
But that's Trump saying, I will murder anyone on behalf of Israel, okay? And I will start any war on behalf of Israel. So am I right?
I don't know how much worse it can get for them. Oh my God. What an unbelievably fucking stupid thing to say.
Am I wrong? We might find out instantly. Because for the moment being, they're saying, the right-wing populists, oh, no, Trump would never do a war in the Middle East. No way. But he's a tough guy, and he's going to threaten them, and he's going to get the hostages back. But what I'm trying to explain to them is, and I had this conversation with Rudy Giuliani at the RNC, brother, when you say, oh, he's threatening them, so that's good negotiation. But what if somebody calls his bluff? And in the case of the Palestinians, they don't have a choice, because what Trump is saying is in order to get the hostages back, Israel wants to ethnically cleanse and take half of Gaza. No Palestinian will ever agree to that, right? So Trump is threatening a giant war in the Middle East. If he does it, we're going to find out if I'm right or wrong, because at that point, I think the right-wing populists and the bros go, no, brother, I didn't elect you to be a worse neocon than Biden.
Fair enough, and we'll see. But I'll tell you why I'm very skeptical, because we already knew Trump's record from his first term. Like, he was not anti-war, and he was extremely hawkish towards Iran.
But his base is anti-war.
He was very, pro-Israel. So this was already out there, right? And yet you still had people like RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard who were claiming he was anti-war, even though they had said, both of them, totally contradictory things previously, and also claiming that he's anti-censorship and pro-free speech. I mean, to me, that's just utterly preposterous. This is someone who wants to tighten the libel laws, who wants to criminalize flag burning. The Republican Party has launched a wave of bills across the country to crack down protests, et cetera. And so even in spite of all of that, they still continue to hold him out as some, beacon of free speech and beacon of anti-war dovishness. And so when I see that, and I see there's already been this, ability to erase all of the things that he's done in the past and pretend he is something that he's not, it's hard for me to imagine that dynamic changing. But we can put a pin in that because we are going to see, soon enough what the reaction is going to be. Because I do want to get to this piece about the establishment. Because the other part that I have a question about here is you say the establishment has been defeated. And I should say, even in the Democratic Party, I think they have been dealt a blow. I think you see that in.
I feel like every now and then I'm like, I just want to say words that mean nothing because there's no point even fucking saying it. I like how the world tension was ratcheting up under Trump, but it hadn't actually exploded yet. So we had a looming pullout from Afghanistan that had been negotiated on the Taliban's timetable with historic low troops in Afghanistan. We had the Great March of Return or the border riots that were raging on for a year, the Gaza Strip, because Netanyahu wanted to annex the West Bank and pull funding from UNRWA. We had the continual growth and the continual foreign meddling of the Houthis, of Hezbollah, of Iran. And we had Russian troops for the first time fighting Ukrainian troops openly, the Donbass, and encroachment still in Crimea. All of these things were happening under Trump. And all of it was building. And then when Biden comes into office, all of a sudden the whole world is at war because of Biden, right? It's like, holy fuck, how did Biden do this? And now, as sad as it is to say, Ukraine, Russia is probably gearing towards some kind of end. Obviously, Israel has crushed now the Hamas and Hezbollah. And I don't know what the fuck the Houthis are doing anymore, right? Now that everything's winding down, as Trump comes into office, and now these conflicts wind down, it's like, yeah, that was me. I did do that. Yeah, I did actually solve these conflicts. Way to go, guys. I can already see it.
MSNBC's cratering ratings, I think that creates an opportunity, a possibility, but I don't think they've been defeated. I think it's very possible we end up with Pete and Gavin, next time around in the Democratic primary. These people are very resilient. I think you have a lot of, affluent liberals who will think that they could be the answer to the problems, et cetera. They still have a lot of money power. But on the Republican side too, for me, the ultimate final boss establishment is the billionaires who rig the rules for their own benefit. And the billionaires have basically never been more blatantly in control than right now. Elon Musk is a perfect example of this, but we can actually put this next element up on the screen, guys. Trump has the wealthiest cabinet in history. I think there are 6 billionaires so far that he's picked to be part of his administration.
Is
so,
that
to me,
is this including people like Elon? Because Elon isn't technically, that's not a real department that Elon and Vivek were a part of. 6 billionaires? Even absent Elon, are there 5 other billionaires?
Again, this is the ultimate establishment, and they are fully in control of what's going to happen in the Trump administration.
Okay, one more, going back to Trump's problems and then this.
Yeah, okay.
Why do progressives hate Pete so much? He seems to have very progressive politics. He's gay, he's white, and he is too educated, so it comes off as part of the intelligentsia.
So I agree with you on all that. He's been hypocritical on every one of those issues, censorship. And he said in his first term, I don't want poor people in my cabinet.
That's right.
He said, I like rich people,
yeah.
right? Mm-hmm. So he's been trying to get into that elite club his whole life. So the idea that he's against the elites is kind of funny. He is, but only because he's jealous.
He's against cultural elites, Hollywood, academia.
No,
he's not against
that's not
the
even
rich.
True. That's not even true. He'd love to be in Hollywood.
Oh, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
And he started a fake university, right?
Yeah.
So, was he perceived as against the establishment? Yes, right?
Yeah.
So that's when is the establishment annihilated? No, of course not. Are they going to make a comeback? Of course. The empire is going to strike back in 2028.
Yeah.
But the empire struck back so many times. It struck back in 2016, 2020, 2024. And so maybe 2028, to extend this needless analogy, is the return of the Jedi, right? And so I'm not under any illusion that the establishment is gone, right? But was Kamala Harris a more establishment candidate? Yes, of course she was, right? And so did she lose? Yes. And as I explained in another tweet in that thread, it's not just that Kamala Harris lost. Some Hillary Clinton lost, right? Joe Biden nearly lost. Mm-hmm. So it's not that. It's that mainstream media, which is the main weapon of the establishment, is now greatly reduced in its influence. Before, we could not get past him in a Democratic primary. Bernie almost had it in 2016, but certainly in 2020 when he won the first 3 states, and mainstream media defeated him with their lies and propaganda, right? Oh, he's going to execute people in Central Park, he's a Nazi, et cetera. Yeah. So the mainstream media guys are the worst liars in the world. They lie way worse than even right-wing media.
I don't know about that.
Okay, we can have that.
The mainstream media, and by that he means CNN. I also like how Fox News just isn't mainstream media, or is he including that? Because why is he saying or versus right-wing media? What
are the worst liars in the world? They lie way worse than even right-wing media.
I don't know about that.
Okay, we can have that discussion. I think you cannot find two bigger liars in America than Joe Scarborough and Whoopi Goldberg.
I mean,
what about everybody on Fox News? Really? Wait, what were the hugely horrible lies that Scarborough told? I mean, I know it's like not the best like programming, but like, what?
Okay, we can have that discussion. I think you cannot find two bigger liars in America than Joe Scarborough and Whoopi Goldberg.
I mean,
Whoopi Goldberg from The View? Does she have another show? What?
But I hear you, but I also have been kind of blackpilled on a lot of independent media because that tenant media situation where,
yes, tenant media and Fox Dominion. Bro, there is no equivalent on the left. There is no equivalent on the left.
Tim Pool and whoever else were taking random sketchy money to put out whatever propaganda they were told to put out. I just, I don't see.
Ooh, she's a little off there. Who's they here? Ooh.
What has grown up on the right in the independent media space as actually being better than the mainstream press.
I totally disagree with you.
While I feel like what I agree with you on is there is a possibility that exists now that didn't before. And so I feel I guess what I relate to in your tweet is I would say I feel energized because there is a possibility that wasn't there, that is there now. I think the most likely outcome is that things continue to get worse. That's why I don't feel like optimistic, because what I see over the next 4 years is you're probably going to have, a lot of cruelty towards immigrants. You're likely to have, another inflationary spiral. If he does, half of the tariffs he's talking about, you could very easily have more chaos in the Middle East. We're already seeing it. More brutality in the Middle East. That's almost certainly going to happen. We could have some like giant crypto bubble as possible, avian flu. Like there's all kinds of things that I think could be horrible.
Is anything going to happen in the Middle East right now? It feels like all the pressure has been like cooled off. Like, I don't remember any of their names. Nasrallah is dead. Hezbollah got fucking cell phone and pagered out the ass. You lost Sinwar, Haniyeh, and Dave Mohammed. You lost all your Hamas guys. I don't know what the fuck the Houthis are doing. Iran did 2 big attacks on Israel and they killed one brown dude. Syria is getting cooed right now. What even is going on that would even represent any threats to U.S. interests at the moment? Like Syria getting cooed, it sounds, I don't mean this in a good for the people way. Remember what I said before, foreign policy is analyzed from different perspectives. From a human suffering perspective, at least in the short term, any coup or whatever in Syria is bad for sure. But from a U.S. geopolitical interest perspective, and from a Turkish perspective, from a Saudi perspective, civil war and coup in Syria is super good. That's super positive. But
and brutal over the next 4 years. And I can't look at that. I would love to feel optimistic that, there's going to be a light at the end of the rainbow. And like I said, I do feel energized, but optimistic is just not, I would love to be there, but I'm not.
So let me agree and disagree. Okay. So first of all, I agree with your facts. So when we're talking about online media, are the Russians involved? Are there fracking billionaires that are financing shows?
Yeah.
Billionaire X and Billionaire Y, and do some of those shows totally serve those interests?
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're reading the ads themselves.
Yeah.
So there's not even the appearance of an arm's length distance from the advertisers and the money.
I get all that and I grant all that. Okay, so why then, given those facts, am I more optimistic about online media than mainstream media? Because mainstream media is a prison. And it's a prison in the past you could not break out of. There's guardrails. You are not allowed to say things outside those guardrails. You cannot talk about how the donors obviously control all the politicians.
You can't talk. You think there are things that you can talk about it in an alternative media? That's a free and open. You can't even make fun of RFK's voice on Joe Rogan without him getting mad at you. What do you?
Obviously. You cannot talk about how Israel obviously controls Washington and Washington's occupied territory. It's
okay. A little bit too much Nick Fuentes content there, buddy, but okay.
So obvious. But if you say you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. I hate that prison. I despise that prison of lies that is establishment media, okay? So now in online media, you got the Russians, you got this, you got wild and woolly, crazy stuff. You got people I disagree with on the extreme left, on the extreme right. It's a mess in online media, and I love it, okay? That's the jungle. But Krystal, that's our jungle, okay? So we started this jungle at the Young Turks, and breaking points in the Young Turks are in those same woods.
Right.
Oh, in the woods, we have to fight off the right, the left, the middle, the Russians, the Israelis, the Saudis, etc. Yeah, that's the woods, baby.
Right.
But we were born in those woods.
I mean, I hear you, Cenk. I've seen too much. I mean, you know what the incentives are. The incentives are to feed the algorithm. The incentives are to feed your audience whatever they want to hear. The incentives are to be, ever more in your own bubble. And a lot of the incentives are the same, access-driven ones and corruption-driven ones as the mainstream press. There's a reason why you and I didn't get interviews with Kamala Harris, because she knows we would ask her some tough questions.
Of course.
There's a reason.
Who gives a damn about getting interviewed with Kamala Harris?
I'm just saying.
Oh, I am Kamala Harris. I'm not interested in interviewing a corporate robot anyway.
But Cenk, my point is that a lot of people do care about that, which is why so much of right-wing media is just basically sucking off Trump and whatever he says and towing the line. because they want to maintain that access. They want to maintain, their funding and their money, and they want to feed their audience whatever they want to be fed. And so again, there's a possibility here, and I don't want to quash that. I think it's really important, and it excites me. In the same respect, like I'm clear-eyed about what a cesspool a lot of independent media, frankly, is at this point. And so there's, I guess, a caution that I have about it as well.
Krystal, nobody knows that.
Thank you. Yes, I will take credit for all these talking points. I don't care. Kyle, I know you watch my shit. Okay, we will never be friendly because your foreign policy takes are fucking insane. Okay. But I will compliment you on your recent shitting on, Trump Ozark. Okay, I will compliment you on that. Because you're going ham, you're going crazy, you're going wilder than I or Josiah would. And I'm here for it, okay? I'm fucking here for it, so good job. Keep it up.
Better than me, right? We've been doing this for 22 years.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
So we started when the internet was a nice place. That's how old we are, okay? So longest running show in internet history, first YouTube partner, you know all that, right?
Yeah.
So my point is that I have gone through all of those different things, and I'm perfectly aware of that. I'm not at all naive about it.
Wait, did he say first YouTube partner, like first batch of?
A nice place. That's how old we are. Okay, so years,
I know. That's what I'm saying.
So
a caution that I have about it as well.
Krystal, nobody knows that better than me, right? We've been doing this for 22 years.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
So we started when the internet was a nice place. That's how old we are. Okay, so longest running show in internet history, first YouTube partner, you know all that, right?
Is that true? Damn.
Yeah.
So my point is that I have gone through all of those different things, and I'm perfectly aware of that. I'm not at all naive about it.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
But you let me ask you a question back. Okay. You and I both worked at MSNBC.
Yeah.
So we've worked in establishment media.
Yeah.
We've worked online media.
Yeah.
What do you prefer?
Oh, definitely online media.
See?
But I'll tell you, Cenk, we've made some very specific decisions here, which is we don't do that. We will never talk to an advertiser. We don't do ad reads. We, have tried to intentionally create our business to avoid as much as possible, and we're still human beings, but as much as possible, some of the, the pressures, the incentives, et cetera, that I think have led to, most of the media ecosystem being not that great. And I think, that's, I know you guys have made some of those choices in your own ways, not exactly the same ones that we have, but most people, the money's green, and, they want me to read this ad for, the bald coddlers or whatever it is, and I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to look into that product, and if later down the road there's some problem with the product, I'm not going to cover it because then I'm going to have a problem with my funders. I think because we've made some specific decisions here, it has given us a lot of freedom, but I don't necessarily see those same incentives, playing out across all of independent media, which has created, as much as I would love for us to be the model for everyone, that's not the reality of most of what exists out there.
Yeah, but so, Krystal, I agree with you on all of that. Again, stipulate to all the facts, right? But at least we've got a fighter's chance in online media. Yeah. And what has our perseverance shown, TYT as a network, right? Yeah. It's shown that when you buck all the tides and you don't take the obvious money, you don't serve those corporate interests, and you get attacked by every side imaginable, right? Establishment, right wing, left wing, everyone has attacked us. Yeah. And yet we're still the largest. So now that's not to just a brag. Do
you think that with the Russian economic crisis, we'll see any impact on independent media in the US? I have no clue.
Or anything. There's a real point in there, which is, yes, but the audience values the truth. And so as difficult as it is day to day, somebody lied about you, you lost a part of your audience. So someone else lied about you, you lost a part of your audience. But you still keep going and going and going. And those guys, they all fall off. They all fall off.
Daily Wire is way bigger than us, and they're propagandists.
Yeah, but Daily Wire has gotten an enormous amount of money from corporate interests,
right?
I know. So, but Krystal, that's in the short run. No, that's in the short run.
I mean, that's just,
Krystal,
that's
just
new establishment media. They're not bucking the system, right? They're just a new version on a different platform of effectively Fox News.
I know, but Krystal, I'm a business person, and I can see that those models are unworkable in the long run. Basically, what the right-wing billionaires are doing is they have a marketing budget.
What is he talking about? Crowder's Louder with Crowder was funded by so much of the people paying money, like the Crowder fans or whatever. Tim Pool, I'm pretty sure, makes a good chunk of change off of subscriptions. Daily Wire makes a fuck ton of money off of subscribers. They have an amazing business model. Is he really about to make the argument that all these right-wing media things are just billionaire funded? That's delusional, and it dramatically and severely underestimates the authentic support that people on the right have from people that consume their media. Oh, the Mug Club, yeah.
Version on a different platform of effectively Fox News.
I know, but Krystal, I'm a business person, and I can see that those models.
Wait, did you see the Brett Cooper drama? They're dropping her, and the rumors are more likely to follow. Wait, what happened?
Are unworkable in the long run. Basically, what the right-wing billionaires are doing is they have a marketing budget, right? And their marketing budget goes to things like other right-wing media, right? Online right-wing media. And I get it, and that's a big reservoir of money that the left doesn't have at all, right?
Like, I don't think that, is this true at all? In the alternative media sphere, who are your huge billionaire funders that are shooting money into right-wing media? I feel like a lot of it is just user-funded and just AdSense. Will he name a name? I want to hear a name here. Give me just one. And Russia funded, I guess.
And so it's so ironic when they're like, Soros controls everything. Have you guys checked into how right-wing media gets financed? Okay, let alone the fact that Soros hasn't helped us.
Who gets financed? Wait, is there a video where he talks about this for like?
Time, right? As far as I don't know about you guys, but not us.
Definitely.
Right? And so I get all that, but they don't have margins. It's not a real business, okay? It's not a real business if you have to rely on, as Dennis Prager does, $23 million a year from right-wing billionaires, right? That's just a short-term marketing operation.
Dennis Prager doesn't need $23 million a year for, what else does he do? They just have Prager University, right? What do you think the budget is on like one of these videos? Oh shit, does he have a whole ass?
Jiu-Jitsu is the most efficient self-defense art. After the first UFC,
oh, he has like podcasts now.
I beat everybody. I actually called my father. I was like, Daddy, how do I deal with fame? He's like, don't never forget where you came from. Be humble. My father used to say, give me the right leverage and I'll lift the world. I don't believe in good student or bad student. There's good teachers and bad teachers.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Do we really need the dramatic zoom in on every single shot? I think every shot in this trailer.
That rule to every facet of education.
Every school should have it. Toxic masculinity, whatever you call that. I don't even know how to pronounce that because I don't believe on that. Men have to be men. Boys have to be boys.
What are your
the
thoughts
airplane zoom?
on what is happening in Brazil right now?
I call Brazil a fake freedom. If America falls, where would we go?
There is so much for me to learn about jiu-jitsu. I am so glad you're here because the first time I heard about this is actually this amazing martial arts.
Okay, we're not watching this.
Whereas building a real business where people actually value what you're doing, value the truth, that is sustainable in the long run, and we've proven that.
Yeah.
So look, the last thing on Trump in terms.
Yeah.
I've heard you say that a budget surplus is an irrelevant indicator of an administration's economic performance. Do you have any source for that? The Labour government in Australia has delivered a back-to-back surplus after over a decade of deficit. From the opposition, it seems to be reported as a majorly positive thing and makes sense that it's positive. Any insight on why you're thinking up? How big it? When have I said? I don't know when I've said that or what that was in response to. A budget surplus, I wouldn't say a budget surplus is an irrelevant indicator of an administration's economic performance. Your budget is oftentimes going to be tied to the performance of your economy, right? Higher GDP means more things that are happening in your economy that could be taxed, meaning probably more government revenue, right? You can also spend more too. I would imagine that in times of higher GDP, you have higher budgets though, or higher revenues at least, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So why
and then I want to talk. And then I want to talk some about Elon. If you don't.
No, I don't mind at all. But like
right?
on why I'm not despondent as I was in 2016. Okay. So there's the right wing base, but there's one other thing with Trump. He loves being popular. So you got to get one.
Sorry, somebody really wants us to know this. The word lens originally referred to a lentil, later evolving to mean a lens optics due to their similar shape. The term for lentil shifted to lenticula, which is derived from lens combined with a diminutive suffix meaning little lens. There you go.
Decent person in the room to show him how to be popular. Because I don't think he knows how. He's just grasping at straws. He's blind, right? He keeps doing A/B testing. He's like, okay, what's more popular, being pro-immigrant or anti-immigrant? He did that like back in 2015. He went on a radio tour, and he's like, pro-immigrant? No, that's not. Okay, anti-immigrant. Oh yeah, okay, people like that.
Why is your mic always so quiet on peers? They just turn me down. I mean, it's my normal setup that I use on anything else. They're fucking me.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but paid family leave is popular. Healthcare is popular. Higher wages is popular. And the right-wing populists like all that. Anti-war, anti-corruption, those are all popular. And the right-wing populists agree with the left-wing populists. So there is an area of possible agreement there that could get something done that the establishment would never do. The establishment would never be anti-war.
Like this is like the red-brown alliance. Stuff like this should make you very nervous. I don't even like to be mean to Cenk because I think Cenk is sincere. But this is like the, God, we need to do more history. Fuck. I just need to, I need to destroy my stream this month. We just need to read shit. I'm going to go to sleep early tonight, and we're going to have a strict schedule. I need to do 2 hours of memes and news, and then it's 6 hours of reading. God, we just need to fill our brain. I've learned so much. We can learn more. We got to fill our brain. You always say that? Yeah, because there's always so much stuff going on. This sounds like German Communist Party, KPD, and the NPD? NSD? SPD? No. SPD? No, the SPD were the liberals. What was the Nazi? NPD? NSDAP? What were the Nazi party? Those, whatever the fuck. The NASDAQs, okay? Fuck them. Yeah, but this like, yeah, we got a lot of good ideas with these guys, but the liberal establishment, aren't letting us get our fucking way. We got to take them down.
Populists like all that. Anti-war, anti-corruption. Those are all popular, and the right-wing populists agree with the left-wing populists. So there is an area of possible agreement there that could get something done that the establishment would never do. The establishment would never be anti-war. They would never be anti-corruption. They would be never anything positive. So like we've broken out of that prison, and that prison was the worst place in the world, and it was filled with nothing but gaslighting about the American people suck and the donors are the greatest, the politicians are honest.
I just don't know who is going to be that voice, number one, because his administration has largely been filled with, you know, almost with a few exclusions. You know, I think the labor secretary is a notable one, but with almost all like sort of right-wing ideologues. And number two, I guess part of what I'm grappling with as well is if you go down the list of issues, I'm all for a horseshoe, and I think there are some areas there, you know, to work with Josh Hawley or work with, used to be Marco Rubio actually was kind of interesting on some of the economics.
How do you check your brain capacity? How do you know if it's full? I just think back to different things that I remember when I was 4 years old, 5 years old, and if I ever start forgetting those things, then I'll know that my brain is at capacity. And I'll start relearning everything from earlier ages, except for the stuff I don't need, and then I'll start over again.
Stuff like Matt Gaetz also was interesting on some of the economics.
Yep.
All for horseshoe, working with elected representatives, et cetera. But if you go down the list, I think you and I are mostly ideologically in the same place. I'm sure we have some differences, but I think we're by and large ideologically in the same place.
Yep.
If I go down a list, I am on almost every issue closer to the Kamala Harris Democrat than I am to the Donald Trump Republican, whether it's healthcare or wages or labor or any of these things.
But Krystal, excuse me, Krystal, you're forgetting about the, I need my goddamn sounds for my soundboards. I don't know what is gonna, if I play this, I don't know what, these are just labeled, fuck me. I'll figure it out later. You're forgetting about the donor class. The donor class.
And so that's what's kind of, that's what.
Don't cut him off. Let him talk about the donor class.
What's a little bit like dissonant for me is, you know, if we're caring about the policy outcomes, I think I'm much more likely to get improvement, not the things we would want, like Medicare for all. But
you're never gonna get those things because of the donor class. Cenk he's the meme kid with the veins in his head, the donor class.
We're likely to get improvement on policy outcomes that I would want to see from a Kamala Harris. So react to
You'll
that, but
never
also,
get
like,
it.
are you saying that you're actively happy that Trump beat her at this point?
No, but
okay.
Bring up the donor class.
What I was going to say is, since I agree with you ideologically that I'm closer to the theoretical Kamala Harris positions, that's why I voted for Kamala Harris instead of Donald Trump.
Right.
And I'm worried that Donald Trump, again, never called him a Nazi, never called him Hitler, but fascist is another word for authoritarian, right? And so, I'm worried that Donald Trump's an authoritarian, so that's why I vote, and he said to terminate the Constitution. That's why I vote for Kamala Harris. Okay, so now having said that, now that he has won, right, I would have preferred an actual...
Oh, he's not going to talk about Kamala Harris. Fuck!
Populist instead of what I view to be a fake populist, right? But now that he has won, there is a tiny ray of hope that did not exist in the establishment prison.
Okay. I hear that.
So last thing on that is, I'll give you a specific example. Paid family leave. Is Trump likely to do it? No, of course not, right? So, and was Kamala Harris...
Oh, but Kamala Harris would have never done it because of the donor class. Please, just say donor class. I'm so close to coming. Please, donor class, donor class, donor class, donor class.
Harris going to do it. No, of course not.
Because of the donor class.
I think I have a better chance with her then.
No, I totally disagree. That's why I disagree. The establishment never wavers. They will do what corporate...
The establishment. Corporate Democrats, the establishment, the donor class. It's all here. That's them. He got it. We got it.
I think I have a better chance with her then.
No, I totally disagree. That's why I disagree. The establishment never wavers. They will do what corporate donors tell them.
Corporate
not 99% of the time, 100% of the time.
That's not true.
It is 100%.
But Cenk, I can give you...
Thank you.
I will debate you on any issue.
I'll give you some specific examples from the Biden administration, which is antitrust, Lena Khan. Right? The Wall Street Journal hated him for that. The billionaires hated him for that. I mean, that was big pressure.
That wasn't far enough, dumbass. Cenk is like, I'm gonna fucking smack.
Campaign.
He's like, I need a third cup of coffee. God damn it.
But on Kamala Harris to make sure she got rid of Lena Khan, etc. So that he was the most pro-labor president we've had in our lifetimes.
I bet these shots aren't even live in their monitors in the background. I bet these are pre-recorded videos. Has anybody cross-referenced to check?
There is.
Of course, but these are two areas where the donors did not want this, right? And his National Labor Relations Board, the General Counsel, Jennifer Abruzzo, genuinely sort of revolutionary in her approach. And they ended captive audience meetings, for one example. A lot of the decisions she made helped to enable this grassroots labor organizing surge. And so, that was a break from neoliberalism. Now he has destroyed any possible positive legacy with genocide in Gaza and all kinds of other things besides, and being so arrogant, not getting out of the way, et cetera. But he did break with what the billionaires wanted and what the donors wanted in a few key areas. And I think we are very, that is not going to happen with Trump. Trump has already handed so much government power, and this will help us transition to Elon Musk with this Doge thing. I mean, Elon is not only the richest man on the planet, but he also has massive multi-billions of dollars in government contracts. He's one of the Pentagon's largest contractors. And whether it's Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or whoever, I, as a matter of principle, object to...
How does Bill Gates get into either of those? Wait, what is the control that Bill Gates is exerting over the government or the current economy that's even like even in the same ballpark as Bezos or fucking Elon Musk. I feel like we just named off 3 radically different billionaire type people, but okay.
To like rule by billionaires, rule by unelected billionaires. And this is like the most clear manifestation of that I've ever seen.
So for Biden and Obama, what they do is a release valve, right? So they'll give you 5 to 10% change.
Sure.
And I would argue that Biden at his height actually did 15% of his agenda.
Wow.
So for Democrats, that's like record breaking. We're only lying 85% of the.
But they only do that so that the donor class can stay in control, so that the corporate billionaires can pull the wool over your eyes and placate you and placate the masses.
Time.
No, I agree with that.
Okay, so they say, well, look, we gave you a little release valve so you don't do a revolution. We gave you Lena Khan. We gave you a decent National Labor Relations Board. Now, of course, we didn't give you the PRO Act. Don't be ridiculous. We're not going to actually promise.
But how many Democrats supported the PRO Act and how many Republicans?
No, but that's my point.
Oh my God, seriously? Why does Krystal always go for the fucking low blows? We're trying to talk about real change here, not fucking people that vote in Congress for shit. What is she talking about? Who supported it? What, like you need members of the House and the Senate? Does she even know where bills come from? I don't remember that in the cartoon. Get her back on track, Cenk. They only support or not support stuff because of the donor class and the corporate donors and the corporate Dems and the billionaires.
The PRO Act, don't be ridiculous. We're not going to actually promise.
But how many Democrats supported the PRO Act and how many Republicans?
No, but that's my point. That's my point. Krystal.
They don't support it, Krystal, because of the donors and the donor class and the billionaires.
Those Democrats are liars. They don't actually support the PRO Act. Yeah. They don't actually support any of those policy positions.
Because of the donors. Because of the donors.
Giant, enormous liars. So you saw it on $15 minimum wage. Oh, we're for $15 minimum wage. And Joe Biden's like, get it out of the goddamn bill, right? He said in the first interview in the Super Bowl, he said, oh, no, we can't do $15 minimum wage. Why? And I remember talking to people in Congress saying, oh, Cenk, what are you worried about? It's guaranteed. It's guaranteed. Nancy Pelosi told us it's guaranteed, right? And what did we do? We forced a vote on it. And what happened? 8 sellout Democratic senators voted against the $15 minimum wage, including the 2 Biden senators.
And how many Republicans voted against it?
No, but Krystal, I stipulate.
Krystal, who cares if it was every single Republican?
Like the Republicans are totally corrupt.
Okay, who civics pilled? I feel like every time I say Krystal, I'm like, it's not her name. She does not look like a Krystal. But yes, there is a difference between Democrats and Republicans.
But are you? Because it seems like you're saying that you're more likely to get like something real out of them than you are out of the Democrats. And look, I'm clear-eyed about the Democrats. You know, I've been plenty critical of them in their many failings, but I just don't think that's true. And you know, part of it is that Democrats get significant funding from labor unions, and that's a part of their coalition. And so that's part of why they're. That's part of why. That's part of.
It's not compared to the corporate donor class, though.
Why they have been more. I mean, they have just the Biden administration in particular was pretty consistently pro-labor, and I think they deserve. You know, I think they deserve some credit for that. And
we just drag him to the picket line, and he finally makes it to a picket line. Everyone's like, oh my God. A Democrat didn't lie 100% of the time. I'm not trying to say the Democrats are perfect, but Donald Trump is a strike breaker. Like he bragged, he went to Elon Musk and was like, "Isn't that awesome how you fired these striking workers?" But Krystal, he has been a union buster his entire career. His first NLRB and labor secretary were horrendous. So, but it kind of feels like you are. No. Look, let's be super clear about it. Yeah. Right? So if you say to me, establishment Republicans suck, I agree 200%.
But Democrats suck like 95% of the way.
But the Republican populist base that elected Trump did a revolution against Mitch McConnell. Did a revolution against that
establishment. Because he was anti-Trump, not because of his like corporate whatever. Trump passed the biggest tax cut for people ever.
Nevertheless, the establishment Republicans are defeated and humiliated, and I love it. Okay,
I think they are. Cenk. Marco Rubio is Secretary of State.
But let's see what happens with the right-wing base when he goes to start that war. We're going to find out.
Yeah.
So no, here I'll give you 2 specific examples. Number 1, on paid family leave, neither one of them is likely to do it. And no, I'm not thinking that everything is rainbows and sunshine. And oh my God, Trump's going to be amazing. No, he is more likely to do what he has done in the past, and what he has done in the past is bad to terrible. Okay.
Yes.
So I've got that at about 75%. Everyone else has it at 99 or 100% that is on our side, right? And I think that is wrong. I think there's a 25% chance that right-wing base and his desire for popularity makes a difference. I think with corporate Democrats, you would have never, ever gotten paid family leave, even though it polls at 84%. They're enormous liars. All they have to do is introduce it and it passes, right? So the fact that they know that they can just introduce it and have it pass, and they won't do it anyway, shows you they are
paid family leave. That's it. A slogan. That's the policy. What does paid family leave mean? What do we mean when we're talking about this? Well, you pay the family for leave when a woman gives birth to a baby. Is this federally funded? Does it come out of like the unemployment insurance thing? How are we even funding this? How much would this even cost? Do we have any concept whatsoever of any part about? I mean, maybe there's some thing somewhere where somebody talks about this, but
hopeless. They are 100% donor driven, and every once in a while release valve. Okay, so on the pressure, but on the Republican side. Yeah. If you convince Donald Trump that paid family leave will make it more popular, he'll do it overnight.
Yeah, and if you convince Donald Trump that the minimum wage is bad, he'll probably try to get rid of it. Why do we think that's a good thing? Gee, this guy, you know what? He watched too much Game of Thrones. Donald Trump won the election, and Cenk got his fucking clown mask on, and he stared into the fucking mirror, and he said, "Chaos is a ladder. Chaos is a ladder. Chaos is a ladder." And then he came out in his clown suit, and he's like, "All right, guys."
But on the Republican side, If you convince Donald Trump that paid family leave will make it more popular, he'll do it overnight.
Because
he doesn't care about Mitch
McConnell. He has a bunch of right-wing ideologues around. I mean, this is the thing.
Thank you. Yes. What? Okay, I have to cut this in because Krystal is approaching dangerously based territory, and I don't like it. Okay. Because she's brought up real life examples. She's distinguishing solid differences between the Democrats and the Republicans over and over again. She is pointing to real reasons why Democrats haven't been able to pass things. They don't have the votes for it. Okay.
I know there's ideologues, but then what are you going to do? Give up hope?
Wait, isn't it a good thing that he is trying to appeal to the American people by doing what people around him want? No, people around him are billionaires like Elon Musk. They don't represent the American people.
Doesn't care about Mitch McConnell.
There's a bunch of right-wing ideologues around. I mean, this is the thing. It's
I know there's ideologues, but then what are you going to do? Give up hope?
You just can't. No, but you have to be.
And then let's talk about the Pentagon.
No, but let's talk about the Pentagon because I do think that's an interesting point of conversation.
There is no chance that she's about to bring up the fact that the accounting errors and the auditing issues in the Pentagon are completely misunderstood and totally overblown. Not Krystal. She would never, ever, ever do that. No shot is that about to happen. That will never. If that happens, if she goes into the fact that the auditing issues around the Pentagon and the way they're spoken about in the media is completely and totally overblown, she has a 1 month. For the rest of 2024, I will not say a single negative thing. And I will steelman every single argument that she gives for the rest of the year if she does this. There's no shot that's about to happen, though. No shot.
If I look at how many Democrats support the PRO Act and how many Republicans, if I look at how many Democrats support paid family leave and how many Republicans, I'm not saying the Democrats are great, but I am saying that release valve is vastly superior to, with Trump, you're going to get some level of extremely cruel border policy, which is going to cause unbelievable pain to a number of people. You are going to probably get West Bank annexation and more brutality in the Middle East.
True.
And so I just can't sort of, I'll have a hope and a prayer that maybe something positive will come out somewhere. Like, I'm just clear-eyed about, I think there's going to be a lot of pain and cruelty and unnecessary suffering caused by this administration. So that's why it's hard for me to relate to like a sense of optimism about the possibility, even as, again, I'm all for a good horseshoe. If there's an issue, Bernie Sanders has done this also working with, I think, Josh Hawley on stimulus checks. Like, do it, great, get what you can. But also, like I said before, I think what's likely to happen, the most likely outcome is just things are going to get overall worse. And that's where I am.
Look, I don't know how many times I can repeat it before people believe me. I know Donald Trump has done terrible things in the past. That's why I fought tooth and nail against them in all of the elections. Right? Yeah. I know what is more likely. I know how awful the Republicans have been in the past.
Right.
Okay, the only point of disagreement is I think some of those right-wing voters are not as horrific as you think they are.
Oh, I don't think the voters are horrific. I don't think that at all. I think that there is no track record of them, constraining Donald Trump, holding.
Destiny is outraged at paid family leave, screaming, "How are you going to pay for it? How is he on the left? What do you come in here as like a professional retard, or is this just like a part-time job for you?" I'm not against paid family leave. I'm just saying that you can't just simply, boom. My guess is you can't just do paid family leave. It's probably a pretty comprehensive change in the American system. Same thing with public option for healthcare. I think would be phenomenal. Like massive expansions of Medicare, I think would be really good. But this is a huge expansion. I doubt it's a simple everybody would just go whoop, and then we have it. Like that's probably a big thing that you would have to campaign on, get a bunch of congressmen together on, write like pretty sophisticated legislation on, and then whip votes on. It would be a big thing. It wouldn't just be a simple here's a boop, now we have this.
Him to account, he has become the central figure in the Republican Party. And, however he wants to spin things, whatever case he wants to make, what I have seen is people consistently, even in this era, even with new parts of the coalition, et cetera, I have seen them fall in line. And that's where the RFK Jr. and the Tulsi example comes in.
I get it. So if I said to you, who is more likely to cut the Pentagon? Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, or Donald Trump?
None.
Okay.
I mean, Donald Trump increased the defense budget every year that he was in office.
Of course, and he bragged about it.
Yes.
Okay. So I agree that none of them are likely to cut it. But with Trump, because of his right-wing base and his desire for popularity, I have it at possible. With Biden and Harris, it had a 0% chance because they work for the goddamn donors. They would
the donor class, not the donor class, the donors.
Never cut the military.
But so does Trump.
Yeah.
Cenk,
so look,
he went to oil executives and was like, "Give me $1 billion, and I'll do whatever
Krystal,
you want me to do."
Krystal, you don't have to convince me of that.
Totally flipped on crypto.
Crypto's going to be a disaster. You don't have to convince me of that. But here's, let me see if I can break through one last time.
Okay.
So if Biden said, if Kamala Harris had won and she developed a conscience, which is nearly impossible, and said, you know what, this Pentagon is bloated. Look at all this fraud and abuse. They can't find $400 billion. That's it. I'm cutting $200 billion from the Pentagon. Even if she had done that, which had a 0% chance, the Democrats would have stopped her. Not just the Republicans, but the Democrats would have found
just everything you've heard about the auditing failures and them not being able to find all of it is a lie. If you ever, at some point, we'll read an article on this, but it has to do with the way that the Pentagon accounts for and audits the basically the money and the depreciated machinery. There's just it's a whole clusterfuck of shit. And I think it was in 2010. For the first time, or 2012, they were like, hey, we're going to change the way that the Pentagon does the accounting or the auditing, and they're not even on track to be able to do that correctly until like 2030 or something. Every single time you hear somebody bring up these talking points about the Pentagon, they're always misleading, they're always wrong. There's no way that Krystal brings this up though. Like when they say they failed an audit, they don't mean they've lost the money. They just mean that the way that they account for the money and everything isn't like up to I think it's the OIG for the DOD or for the Pentagon, like is not where they want it to be basically. And it's 2020 I think is the goal date.
The Pentagon is bloated. Look at all this fraud and abuse. They can't find $400 billion. That's it. I'm cutting $200 billion from the Pentagon. Even if she had done that, which that is.
Destiny wouldn't require much change. FMLA exists, and you can claim unemployment or use supplemental insurance to cover pay. It just has to allocate funds towards existing acts. Is FMLA federally funded? It might be. I've never heard that before. When I was at McDonald's, I didn't get FMLA. I did get it at the casino, though. I thought FMLA was just like part of your private business stuff. I could be totally wrong. I don't know.
There's 0% chance. The Democrats would have stopped her. Not just the Republicans, but the Democrats would have found a way to stop her and not allow her to cut the Pentagon. So there was no hope at all, a black hole of hope, okay? With Trump, if the Republicans go to...
Sorry, not that I'm trying to understand. If they failed an audit, isn't that worrisome? Kind of, but not really. Basically, they're trying to change the way that they account for the money that is in the Pentagon and the money that's in like machinery that's used and how money is depreciated. And it's like accounting stuff. It's not that like $400 billion is going in and it's gone. It'll be like they have like, $100 million worth of machinery, but they don't have a way to account for it on the books right now in a way that they want to. So they'll say that this part of the audit failed, like a check failed. It's not like they audit your taxes and you've like committed tax fraud or they can't find the money. It's just the way that they want the money accounted for right now is not passing. That's what the issue is right now.
Her to cut the Pentagon. So there was no hope at all, a black hole of hope, okay? With Trump, if the Republicans go to...
I have no illusions that I can win a debate with Destiny, but he is wrong to be pro-donors and get mad at paid leave. What do you... Just as a quick heads up, big and donors are two of the most retarded words you will ever hear from somebody. Like if they say that, you can probably ignore everything they have to say about politics. Anytime somebody's like, the donors class, the donors class, the donors. Like it doesn't... What the fuck does it even mean? And then when they're like, big pharma, big dicks. Yeah.
To stop him if he goes to cut the Pentagon. They won't be able to. If Mitch McConnell goes and Rick Scott goes, you won't cut the Pentagon. Trump like, what did you say, bitch? Okay. I mean, Mitch. Okay, right? And Mitch McConnell goes, oh, I'm so sorry. We're cutting the Pentagon. Everybody, we're cutting the Pentagon. Because Trump has them bullied. That is another advantage of Trump, that he could bully the establishment, the grotesque establishment.
So his sort of authoritarian tendencies, jiu-jitsu end up being a benefit. It's your position. We will see. I do want to just quickly, because we've already gone on a long time. I don't
She's not going to do it.
Want to keep you too long, but I do want to talk a little bit about the Elon thing, and we can put up the Bernie Sanders tweet. You would like reach out to Elon like, hey, I'll help you cut the Pentagon budget if you're serious about this. Bernie Sanders says something similar. Elon Musk is right. The Pentagon just failed its 7th audit. That must change. Blah blah blah. Obviously, I would like to see the Pentagon's budget cut. I will tell you, like I said, I am all for working with the elected representatives, as Bernie has done in the past with Josh Hawley and others on areas of agreement.
Oh, so like when it says that the Pentagon failed their 7th audit in a row, I think that they just started auditing the Pentagon in the way that they wanted to be audited. Like they've only done 7 audits. That they're failing everyone, but they're getting better and better. And the goal, I think, is by 2028 is when it's supposed to be brought in line with where they want the accounting procedures to be. That's it. It's not that they're losing this money or that they like this. What Bernie said here is just a lie. It's just not true. It's lost track of billions. That's fake news. That's a lie. That's not true at all.
Totally fine with. Maybe my core litmus test, and you and I were talking about this before, like if I was to design the Democratic Party from scratch, the litmus test would all be around economics, and there would be a larger tent around cultural issues, even as I personally have mostly lefty issues on positions on cultural issues. But pretty core litmus test for me is we shouldn't.
When was that new procedure put in place? I don't know. I think it was 2012.
Be allowing unelected billionaires to effectively run the government. And so on this particular issue, I do come down a different place than you, because I think this project of giving Elon Musk, richest man on the planet, one of the Pentagon's largest contractors, who's embroiled in all sorts of regulatory disputes around labor violations and environmental degradation and SEC violations, giving him carte blanche to remake the government however he wants to, like just out of principle, I think that's a project overall that should be opposed.
Yeah, so totally agree, but that's not where we are. So let's talk about the agreement and then let's talk about what to do going forward.
Okay.
So this is what I told the Republicans and the right-wing voters and the independents before the election. Look, Donald Trump openly brags about his corruption. He goes, I used to be against electric vehicles, but then Elon gave me a very strong endorsement.
Right,
now
so here we are, yeah.
I'm like, you just admitted that you are the swamp, right? And so, and he brags about, Sheldon Adelson gave me a strong endorsement back in 2016 and 2020. That means $100 million in both races, right?
Yep.
So he said, so I moved the embassy for him. You just admitted that you gave U.S. foreign policy to a donor. And he's now done that with Miriam Adelson. He's saying, I admitted that you gave U.S. foreign policy to a donor. And he's now done that with Miriam Adelson. He's saying, oh yeah, I'll start any war Israel wants because Miriam gave me $137 million.
Yep.
On TikTok, he was even more brazen. He was like, I was against TikTok, tried to get a ban, but Jeff Yass gave me a strong endorsement.
That's right. Crypto, same deal.
Yeah, and so now I'm for TikTok, right? So he admits his corruption in spectacular fashion. It's unbelievable. Would I allow Elon Musk in an ideal world to basically have power over at least half the government? just because he's one of the top donors to Donald Trump? No, I don't want billionaire donors in charge of the government, right? So that is clear and obvious. And I hope one day right-wing populists finally realize, oh, maybe billionaire donors aren't our friends. Maybe that they're rigging the rules not to our benefit, but to their benefit, right? And so I understand and stipulate to all that. But nevertheless, Trump won, and here's Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who are going to be in charge of this. Who are going to be in charge of this department, whatever the hell this department is, which is really the whole government, right?
Right, that's right.
And so I say half the government, but it's not. It's the whole government. And so how do I make the best of it? Well, we've always wanted to cut the Pentagon, right? So if they're looking to make cuts, I suggest the idea of cutting the Pentagon. Now, normally that's where it would end, especially if I said that to Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, they'd be like, get out of here, you loser, online media, populist loser.
They wouldn't
No way,
notice.
no way, right?
Biden doesn't know how to log into Twitter.
Yeah, so they'd be like, no way. They'd go and give a general a hand.
Just to clarify, by failed audit, do they mean the Pentagon failed to balance their budget? And when the media says they can't account for $824 billion, they literally mean the accounting audit failed? No, they can't. It has nothing to do with accounting. I want to read this real quick, and then downstairs, I got to start transferring my shit. This is an email I got a while ago. I'm part of blank and blank, one of the contributors of the audit for the DoD, specifically some branch of government. I attached an image of my blah, 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 blah. But 600 million of the billion they are referencing was actually directly under my preview. Haha. It's literally just the lack of process and controls. When you fail an audit in this context, it isn't like an IRS audit. It's that all of the procedures have been tested and everything functions / is traceable. At the current time, this balance is majority of PP&E, which stands for property, plant, and equipment, which are assets that aren't tracked appropriately because they were already fully depreciated. The thing is, many military operations ask to keep the equipment in case a component of it can be sold, or even the entire model to other countries who want its parts. Unfortunately, the control / procedures that are required to be defined won't even be ready or addressed until 2028 to 2032, depending. The entire section is just referenced to as remainder because it's the remaining accounting components not yet addressed. We have it on spreadsheets, we see the information, but there are no controls to verify that they belong there or that they got there appropriately, if that makes sense. I'm bringing attention to this because it's another non-factor outside the scope of people in accounting who just see failed audit and assume it's because they aren't transparent. I would also like to point out that the colossal task of getting the entire DoD agency audit ready was started only in 2010 per Congress, and it was accelerated to be ready by 2012, and then it was formally started in 2018. In 2023, you heard that they couldn't account for half their assets. Well, that was because all of their systems were not in unison. Now that we have made crosswalks to assist in that and greatly increase the capacity, next year we're going to make big strides since Marine Corps was completed. I think that's, I don't know. Also, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, you get me back if you blah, 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 blah. Okay. And then he sent me a thing on his desk.
Handy. That's, and be like, oh, no, don't worry, Shadow. Don't worry. Joe Biden's here to protect you, right? And so would Mitch McConnell, so would every dirtbag Republican, right? So, but here, Elon Musk and Donald Trump Jr. said, maybe we do that, right? Maybe we do it. Then I suggested a conflict of interest rule where the generals can't be go work for defense contractors afterwards, right? And why did Elon, this is the important part I'm trying to get through to you guys.
Yeah.
Why did Elon and Donald Trump Jr. go, all right, Cenk, attaboy? Not a thing they would normally say.
Because they like saying, even lefty Cenk Uygur agrees with the Department of Government Efficiency. That's why.
So, Krystal, I totally get that.
Yeah.
And I understand that that's part of their motivation.
Yeah.
But the main motivation was not that. The main motivation is because on X, they could see all of their base going, yes.
Because their base also like even lefty Cenk Uygur is on board with the Department of Government Efficiency. Like, I understand where you're coming from. I understand where Bernie's coming from of like, listen, this is the world and we have to deal with it and we're going to get what we can get. If you're talking about an elected representative, I am 100% on board with all of that. With this specific project, I think it's dangerous to normalize giving billionaires this level of control over the government. And your willingness to engage with it, which again, I understand where you're coming from. I'm not saying like you're bad or evil or like whatever for doing it. But I think this level of engagement gives this project of total billionaire control over the federal government a sense of bipartisan legitimacy and creates the appearance that genuinely beneficial things are going to come out of it, when I do not think that genuinely beneficial things are going to come out of it overall, even if there are things that they cut that you and I would be like, okay, that's fine that they cut that. Because look, Elon Musk, he is himself one of the largest Pentagon contractors. He has all of these massive conflicts of interest. This is a project like any normal like Koch brothers type right-wing project to strip the capability of the government so that it's less able to regulate and constrain robber barons like Elon Musk or any other of the billionaire class that has rigged the economy. And so that's why in this specific instance, I think it's more important to just oppose the project outright and try to explain to people why this is a really pernicious development in our nation's history versus giving it some credibility by being like, oh, look, they might do some good things and they might work with me on this or that proposal.
So totally agree, totally disagree.
Okay.
The part I agree on is, yeah, it's a pernicious project. project. I don't want to validate billionaires running the government, donors running the government. That was the problem with the establishment in the first place, right? And yes, Elon Musk has enormous conflicts of interest, not just with the Pentagon. He wants to get rid of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Why? Because they're the cops on Wall Street.
And the NLRB.
And why do they want to get rid of that? Because it serves his billionaire interests, right? So I'm trying to, I hope to God, I know it's a tough task, but get the right-wing populists to realize.
As a CPA tax corporate manager, it is insane how people who don't even know what a W-2 is try to understand what a failed audit is. PP&E is one of the hardest things to track, especially at that scale. Bro, do you want to know, when I was, oh my God, what was the name of that math PhD guy? Listening to Republicans or conservatives or alt-righters or whatever the fuck dipshits are, try to talk about how ESG was going to destroy everything because BlackRock owned like the entirety of the fucking, basically owned everything. But like they don't know the difference between like a company owning something versus like assets under management. And they think that people think that the assets under management is the actual like ownership that BlackRock as a company has over, like just like random, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say random. People that complain about ESG saying anything at all about finance were probably some of the most triggering conversations I've ever had in literally my entire fucking life. Holy fuck.
He's another donor. Wake up. He's a donor. And he wants to get rid of the cops that are regulating him, right? And so
he wants to defund the police, just the white-collar police.
That's literally the analogy I use. He wants to defund the police on Wall Street, right? And so and some people online think, oh, Cenk, are you going to call him out?
Well, I think you were actually wrong there, but Lindsay did a poor job of elucidating his point. Still control the assets under management. No, it depends on what you mean by control. You don't own them. You're managing them for somebody else. Now, if you want to, here's the thing. I'm sorry. No, you get no credit for that. Not you personally, but he gets no credit for that. Technically, now, and I'll be honest, I might be some of my area of expertise here. I think that you can assign your voting rights to the people that are managing your assets. So I might have, I don't remember if there's an option or not. But for instance, if I'm buying, I think like an ETF, or if I'm buying a broad fund like that, then the person that trades the ETF, my voting rights might be assigned to them, or they might be passed to me. It might depend on the individual stocks that are part of the ETF, or it might depend on the agreement that you make with the ETF. And it might depend on what your brokerage allows you to do, or because there are emails that you get sometimes that assign you voting rights or not. Regardless, these are things that you might be able to argue that, well, you know, even if they're assets under management, they might be able to exercise more voting control or market decisions or whatever, because they also manage funds at the same time. These are arguments that you can make. But when you don't know, when you think that assets under management are the same thing as a company owning something outright, you forfeit the right to have any conversation about any of this. Like, it's like saying that like cutting carbs is good because like when you cut carbs, you can lose 5 pounds of weight like very quickly. And that's why cutting carbs is good. And it's like, well, I mean, it's your glycogen shit attached to water. Like it's water weight in the beginning. But like the person's like, well, yeah, but I mean, they're kind of right. No, they're not. No, they're not kind of right. You don't get half credit because you say something 100% retarded. Okay. That's not how that works.
Out on the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Of course, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau saves $20 for every dollar we spend on it. They get back $20 billion for every $1 billion we spend. But not only that, the $20 billion is money that the bankers stole from us, right? Financial Protection Bureau. Of course, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau saves $20 for every dollar we spend on it. They get back $20 billion for every $1 billion we spend. But not only that, the $20 billion is money that the bankers stole from us, right? And they admit that they stole it, and that's why they pay those fines, et cetera. So it's actually the best part of the government. I agree with all of that. But they are in charge. We did lose. So like on immigration, I agree with you. They're going to do some awful things on immigration that I don't agree with. Yeah. But the voters did kind of vote for that, okay? And we have to be cognizant of that, right? But the voters didn't vote for a giant war in the Middle East. They didn't. They voted against that, not for that, right? The voters did vote against corruption at large. Yeah, maybe they got misdirected by Trump, right? But they still hate corruption at their core. So if you can make them see the corruption. Now, in the midst of all of that, though, if you say me, Ro Khanna, and Bernie Sanders shouldn't legitimize this and instead should go, hey, you know what, cut Medicare and Medicaid first. Don't worry about the Pentagon. Don't worry about the conflicts of interest. Don't worry about cutting the Pentagon. Cut the best parts of the budget first. No.
I guess where you and I disagree is I just do not believe that they actually are serious about like any positive intent. Like I don't believe they're going to cut the Pentagon, period. And so that I think that may be partly why I come down in a different place. But also my position really is that with this particular project, because it is so pernicious to just give carte blanche to a group of billionaires with massive conflicts of interest, like some of the largest conflicts of interest you can imagine, I think to me the most important approach to that is just to oppose it. But I understand where I get where you're coming from, Tim.
Yeah, TARP forced companies to pay back. They may not, but whatever.
I want to address something with all this. Can I? Sure. Is this my camera here? Okay, yeah. So right-wing populists, it is now your job to prove Krystal wrong. Okay.
Go out and do it, y'all.
So she doesn't believe you. And by the way, almost no one on the left, other than me and Anna, believe you guys that you actually want to cut the Pentagon, and that you could pressure Elon Musk and Donald Trump to cut the Pentagon. So are you going to prove the left wrong, or are you going to prove them spectacularly right? Am I going to have to come on here and apologize to Krystal for ever believing in any right-wing?
It's so funny that Trump is able to run right now on this idea of like cutting military expenditure or whatever. Do you not remember? This was like one of his biggest talking points in 2016. We need to rebuild. We need to rebuild our military crumbling.
In anticipation of these and other changes, jobs are already starting to pour back into our country. You see that. In fact, I think I did more than any other pre-president. They say president-elect. President-elect is meeting with Ford. He's meeting with Chrysler. He's meeting with General Motors. I just wanted to save a little time. Because Ford and Fiat Chrysler, General Motors, Sprint, Intel, and so many others are now, because of the election result, making major investments in the United States, expanding production, and you're going to love it. You are going to love it. And we will be substantially upgrading all of our military, offensive, defensive, everything, bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and hopefully we'll never have to use it, but nobody's going to mess with us, folks.
These are the people that are going to cut funding to the military? This guy is? Or did he just completely and totally 180 from when he was president last time?
It will be one of the greatest military buildups in American history.
One of the greatest military buildups in American history.
No one will dare question, as they have been, because we're very depleted, very, very depleted. Sequester. Nobody will dare question our military might again. We believe in peace through strength, and that's what we will have. As part of my pledge to restore safety for the American people, I have also directed the defense community to develop a plan to totally obliterate ISIS. Working with our allies, we will eradicate this evil from the face of the earth.
Hey there, thanks for checking out.
What part of this sounded like small military? Was it, now he's talking about an Iron Dome all across the United States? That, like...
And I will build an Iron Dome over our country, a state-of-the-art missile defense shield made in the USA. We do it for other countries. We help other countries. We don't do it for ourselves. We need it too. You know, Reagan proposed that many years ago, Star Wars. He proposed it many, many years ago, but at that time there was no technology. It was just like it looked good. But we have unbelievable technology. We shoot them down. I've seen so many things. I've seen shots that you wouldn't even believe. Missile launch. They go, missile launch. And you hear a bell go. I mean, I see this. I like it. It's so incredible. And these guys, these geniuses, they go.
He's going to cut. Okay.
Populist. And say, oh, I was a sucker. Those guys were liars. All they want to do was increase the Pentagon, have more wars, more corruption, and they never held Trump accountable. We waited 4 long years for them to hold him accountable, and all they did was kiss his ass and show that they don't really believe in freedom. They said all this stuff about freedom, but they never meant it. They said all this stuff about drain the swamp, but they never meant it. They said all this anti-war stuff, but they never meant it. We're going to come back on here in 1 year, 2 years, 4 years, and we're going to keep doing a check. So if right-wing populists are frauds, I'm going to say, Krystal, you were right. They were frauds all along, okay? Well, but I don't think so. I think they actually mean it.
Let me just say, we already have some examples. So I'll give you one, and then we can wrap things. I'll give you the final word, and we can wrap things up here. But, you know, RFK Jr. put in at HH.
Similar to Ukraine aid, people forget over the $200 billion total, but in reality, only a tiny proportion is actually hard cash. Yeah, you know what's funny? Do you guys know who... oh, I said it's obvious now. The first, I'm pretty sure the first large sale... you know, for all the, it's horrible that we're encouraging Ukrainians to fight. It's horrible that we're letting Ukrainians, you know, go into the fucking meat grinder. I'm pretty sure the first large sale of weapons to Ukraine was under Donald Trump. What? Donald Trump, Ukraine weapons sales. Trump admin approves new sale of anti-tank weapons to Ukraine. The first approved sale, I think, or no, first for the sale of javelins to Ukraine in 2017. But I think they were doing like some of the largest weapons deals. The sale of javelins is not part of the nearly $400 million of military assistance that the White House had ordered the State Department and Pentagon to withhold a week before Trump's call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Whoops.
HHS, or nominated to be put in at HHS, talking a big game about getting bad stuff out of the food system. I agree with you, agree with that, you know, taking on big ag, et cetera. Trump just put in at the FDA, for the USDA and at the FDA, Brooke Rollins, who's a total like corporate, you know, big ag, she'll be ag secretary, big ag shill. Now, RFK had come with a list of like, here's who I want to help me in my project. And he's like, no, I'm going to go with the lady who's going to be friendly to like big ag interests. Have you heard a word? Have you heard RFK Jr. come out? Have you heard any of his followers come out and be like, oh my God, like they're going back on MAGA already? No. And so that's why I am highly skeptical that you're going to see any level of like expectant, like consistent adherence to principle and holding of account of Donald Trump, because I just have never seen that before. Remember, before he ran in 2016, he said he was going to give everybody health care, and then he didn't, and everyone was just like, yeah, that's fine. So I see no indication that it will be at all different this time around. And I see a lot of indications that it will actually be worse because he'll be more unchained and given more freedom to pursue his absolute worst and most authoritarian instincts, thanks to the Supreme Court's decision and, you know, the effort that was engaged in the offseason to get the most ideological sycophants put into positions of power and to bring everybody to heel this time around.
Yeah, I see the same indications you do of the bad impulses.
Yeah.
But I see an indication of good impulses from the right.
Where? Because of some things he said publicly on Twitter?
Wing voters that you do not see. So, for example, on Team Israel, Rubio,
Stefanik, etc. Like nefarious. I just think they're busy. You know, they're busy and they've decided to trust this guy and they're just going to trust this guy.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I think you're wrong. What I have seen is they don't like Team Israel because Team Israel is Team War, Team Neocon, etc.
That's just not what the polling says.
Where do you see them not supporting Israel? You think that Republicans are on Team Palestine here? What?
And
yes,
so
most Republicans are Team Israel.
Okay, all right, let's find out.
Base.
We're going to find out.
If you look at the polling, Democrats overwhelmingly were in favor of a ceasefire and in favor of an arms embargo. Republicans are, I think, in favor of a ceasefire, but they are not in favor of an arms embargo. They are much more favorable as a group. There are some exceptions, but as a group towards Israel. And so, anyway, I don't want to belabor that point in particular because I know you're making a broader point about a variety of issues.
And on Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, I've seen pushback on that. I've seen pushback on some nominees that I've never seen among Republicans before. So, and maybe that pushback is a mirage. And I'm not expecting it right out of the gate. Don't get me wrong. I'm not expecting right-wing populists to rise up and go, Kash Patel is a lunatic and we're not in favor
No, they love him.
Yeah, they love it. Yeah, I get that. So those are the bad impulses. I see it. I'm not.
I remoted into the computer downstairs and I was turning on the OBS and it had the fucking, oh, Jesus.
Unaware of it, but I'm also seeing actual anti-corruption, anti-war impulses. And I would rather feed those good impulses than to say, we hate you all. I never want to talk to you guys. I don't trust you. And I think you're only going to do evil in the world. I don't think that's productive.
I also
don't think it's true.
I just want to say, just to make it really clear, when I'm being critical of the elites, the Trumps, the Elon Musk, the Vivek Ramaswamis. This is not meant to slime, everybody who voted for, and that's something I've really tried to be consistent about throughout the Trump era, and something Sauter and I have really tried to engage with. I'm just, I think what we've seen in the past is likely to be what we see in the future.
So let's see if the right-wing bros, the right-wing populists, the Rogans of the world, if they have any integrity at all, we're going to find out, right? And are they going to hold Trump accountable, or are you right and the rest of the left right that they're not going to hold him accountable at all, and they're going to let him be a runaway freight train?
Rogan is supposedly going to go do some shows in Mar-a-Lago, so we'll see if he has any challenging questions about the principles there. So we may find out pretty quickly.
Okay, so last thing I'll say on Democrats is, so you're right, the establishment's going to strike back, right? So if there's one takeaway from this, it's not from this whole conversation, it's not about Trump, it's not about the right-wing populists, it's that for Democrats, do not let your guard down. They're going to bring back Gavin Newsom and Pete Buttigieg and all the corporate robots.
Absolutely.
Okay? We need, the only thing that could defeat right-wing populism is left-wing populism, okay? Or we join forces on some issues. Great, wonderful, right? But if you go back to establishment morality, that is a dead end. It has no, forget whether you're a progressive or you're a more conservative Democrat or more corporate Democrat, put that aside. They have no chance of winning. It's over. It's over. They're going to run into that brick wall 100 times. And Scarborough and the View are going to lie to you every time. Oh, you got to pick the corporate guy. The corporate guy is the one who's the only one who can win, right? Do not let them lie to you in that 2028 primary. It is imperative that we pick a populist left-winger in 2028. Otherwise, we have no chance of retaking the White House.
Yeah, well, and not even just no chance of retaking the White House, but no chance of really delivering for people. And 100%. Ultimately, I don't give a shit whether the Democratic Party wins or loses. That's, I think what you and I, where we find common ground is I actually want to make life easier and better for people in this country. So, Cenk, love you, brother. Always great to see you. Glad to see you in town here. Although I do feel bad for you. What is LA? It's probably like in the 70s right now. It's fucking cold as hell here right now. So I don't know what you're thinking about.
Well, I'm going to Florida next to do Patrick Bed Day.
All right, there you go.
I'm going to relax for 2 days before heading back to LA, but it's freezing out here. But I'm warmed by our conversation and the love of this room.
All right, thank you, Cenk. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you.
Patrick Bed David, oh God. Okay, I'm going downstairs.
Well, no, the issue of the origin of the universe is extremely critical. You just told me that Genesis predicted, or knew about, or somehow knew about, the scientific hypothesis of the origin of the universe. Then when I pointed out another scientific observation that doesn't accord with Genesis, you tell me that Genesis isn't a scientific text to begin with. Well, if you read Genesis, it is making a astounding claim, which pertains to God. Obviously, God created the heavens and the earth.
Is it making a scientific claim or not? Is it telling us how the universe scientifically formed or not?
It's not telling us how the universe scientifically formed, because if it did, they would be outlining the history of the Big Bang.
Then what's the relevance of bringing this up in the first place?
Because it is stating a conclusion, not a process. It's not telling you how the universe was formed. Right. It's not telling you about...
It also doesn't tell us how the sun was formed, but it tells us that it was formed after the earth was. It tells us that that's the case. That's wrong. It's incorrect.
Show me.
I don't have a Bible.
Okay.
Okay.